Hey, gun people, we're going to talk about hollow point versus ball. And if you've already watched a couple others, I talked about ammo, etc. Like anything, there's so many topics in a subject that they can be broken down in these little topics. So some of this may be going over things for some people. Some of it may be, I've already heard that, or I kind of know. You may pick up something, you may not. I'm trying to start these beginning videos to get people on the same ground before we get into tactics, etc. So let's talk about hollow point versus ball. We already talked about bullets and ammo. We talked about the primary cavity and the secondary cavity. A hollow point ammunition, and there's, ammo's come a long way. Used to be hollow point was anything with a hole in it. If you hollowed out the middle a little bit and made a hole in it, it was called a hollow point. Versus a ball ammo is solid. It's a complete bullet. So a ball ammo, unless it's hit something hard, doesn't normally flatten out. But a hollow point, when you hollow something out, it makes the walls thinner. So they're more likely to spread out. So when you have a hollow point bullet, it's more likely when something gets in the middle, that pressure, if this is a hollow point, that pressure going in here is going to make this expand. Whereas if it's a ball, it tends to go through and push through. So that's kind of the basic concept between hollow point. Now, they've got some other things. As a matter of fact, this is what's, I think Federal makes Hydroshock. And a Hydroshock, what they did is instead of just making a ball into a hollow point, they put a little bitty, sorry ladies, we call it like a little tit or nipple in the middle of it. And it just kind of sticks out there. And it's almost like if you had a cone and you hammered a nail in the middle of the cone, that's kind of what's in here. There's a little bitty thing that just sticks right out here. And so what that does, in theory, is if you want to get something to expand and move out of the way, that little nipple on the inside it punctures through the skin or whatever is around it, and then it puts more force to make the bullet mushroom more. When a bullet opens out, the term they use is mushrooming. The more mushrooming effect, the more it splatters out like a head of a mushroom, because when you shoot a bullet, sometimes if you look at it, it looks like the head of a mushroom. It's just all flattened out. And then the stem of the mushroom would be the back part of the bullet that stayed solid. So if this is a bullet and it was flying, this would mushroom out, but there would still be like a little solid stem behind it. And it looks like a mushroom. So that's why people say hollow point is a better defensive round. The theory behind hollow point is, oh crap, I forgot to, darn it, to start my timer, so I don't know what time we're on here. Oh well. So the mushrooming effect of a bullet is determined by different things. Determined by what the bullet's made of, how thick the wall is, how heavy the bullet is, how fast the bullet is traveling, and what the bullet hits. So all these things are factors on whether a bullet performs. So, I've seen bullets bounce off windshields of cars because a windshield's pretty hard. It's got that safety glass in it so it doesn't shatter. And because it's at an angle, when the bullet hits it, it ricochets. Now, bullets ricochet off a lot of things, hard surface. If you shoot it on the ground, it'll ricochet. When we get into tactics, we'll talk about shooting along a wall or the concrete. If you're standing behind a car and I can't see you, if I shoot on the concrete in front of the car, the bullet will ricochet and follow the concrete. And if I kind of can see your head, if I shoot the ground where I think your feet are, the bullet will ricochet and maybe take out a shin, foot, ankle, or something on the ground. So if you've got good, we'll talk about cover and concealment, the difference between the two, but sticking on bullets will ricochet depending on what they're hitting. They don't ricochet off sheetrock too much, but they can. They don't ricochet off wood too much, but they can, depending on the angle. The more the angle, the more likely to ricochet. You can skip bullets off water. You got a lake of water, you shoot at a right angle, it'll skip right across. That's why when you're shooting, you need to be aware of your background on the surface you're hitting. That's why ranges have large backgrounds. They want to make sure that even if it ricochets, you've got a big enough wall back there to catch the bullet and capture it so it doesn't go over, ended up hitting an undefined target or a target that you didn't mean to hit. So, which is better, ball or hollow point? From what I just told you, most people are going to say hollow point. But it depends. And in a lot of things in life, there's really not one answer. And it depends because there's so many factors and there's so many knowns and unknowns and variables. So, depending on what I'm shooting at, depending on what I want, if I want to shoot somebody behind a target, I want a ball ammo because it will go through it. If you're in a car and I'm shooting through the car door, I want a ball because it's going to puncture through that metal, maintain its weight, and keep traveling and maybe hit you, cause you blood loss, cause you etc. So I would want a ball because I want deeper penetration. Traditionally, hollow points are considered less penetration because they flatten out. When they flatten out, they've got more surface area. Smokey just ran by the window. They got more, could have been a burglar. So, a hollow point, when it flattens out, obviously, it's going to create more resistance as it's going through. Even the air. If I shot a bullet this big through the air, I'm going to have to put a lot of oomph behind it to keep it going because there's going to be so much drag and friction. If a bullet is pointed, it's going to have less drag. If a bullet is like this, it's going to have much less drag than if it's round or if it's flat. There's a type of bullet they call a wad cutter that people use at the range. It's cheap. And it's pretty much, if you took this bullet and just sliced it right off the top, it's flat. It's made for cutting paper. They call it paper cutters or hole cutters or hole punch. It's a very round, flat round. It's called a wad cutter. And when it hits a paper target, it makes a good, clean hole. When a bullet hits a target because it's round, it tears through the paper. You go out there, the paper opens up, lets the bullet through, and then the paper kind of comes back. So when you're checking a target, you kind of gotta, if you have two targets close, it's harder to tell. If you're using wad cutters or what they call target rounds, where it's just flat and cut off, it makes a good clean circle and it's very easy to tell your hits because it cuts the paper instead of tears. So when a hollow point flattens out and it mushrooms, it tears and does more damage internally, but it also slows down. So it's less likely to what they call over-penetrate, go through the body. If I hit you in the shoulder, depending how thick you are, if you're a small frame woman, it's much more likely to get over-penetration, or a kid, than it would be for a large, overweight male. Because you have more mass, it has to go farther. And the more it hits, the more it mushrooms. How much clothes I have on in the winter, some people will carry different rounds in the winter than in the summer because they know people are dressed thick. We got jackets, coats, sweaters, shirts. So if you have to shoot somebody or you get in a shooting, it's almost like I got a little bit of a bulletproof vest on because you have to get through all that in order to get to the meat, flesh, organs, blood loss, etc. So when you're choosing a round, most people are going to choose hollow point for a defensive round. And the reason they choose hollow point, and most cops carry hollow point. The military, their tactical teams will carry hollow point, but for NATO, because for some reason we have rules in war, we want to kill you, but we have to kill you certain ways. It doesn't make sense to me, but that's government. So the government always wants ball ammo because they say hollow points does too much damage. You're more likely to kill. Well, that's great and dandy if I'm sitting on a sniping position and I want to shoot one guy and not kill him so his buddies will come out and help, and then I can shoot his buddies. Because then I get multiple targets for one person. Versus if I just shoot him with a bullet that kills him and he's dead, I don't have any other targets coming out because they're like he's dead. There's no reason to go out there and save him. But if he's hurt and he's screaming and he's asking for help and he's bleeding, his buddies are more likely to come out there. They always say in war and tactics it's better to wound somebody than it is to kill them if you're trying to slow them down or you want to get more targets of opportunity. Because people naturally will help their friends or co-warriors or whatever you want to call it, team members. And so you wound a person instead of kill them. Well, NATO likes to say we're kind when we're killing thousands of people in war, so let's use ball ammo because it's a kinder round. that freaking stupid or what? So, do cops carry ball? Some agencies do carry ball. I don't know about in Alaska or something, but you know, a lot of your hunting rounds are not hollow point. A lot of hunting rounds, you're getting through a large animal and you've got to get down deep and fast. Rifle rounds tend to be a lot faster. They want more penetration. You're trying to get to the lungs, heart, spine, major areas to drop your target. So if you use a hollow point, now some of them do use hollow points because they want it to open up, it makes it bigger. But when this round mushrooms out and gets bigger, remember, that's going to create a larger primary target. Your primary cavity, when you go through a target, your primary cavity is the size of the object going through. Your secondary cavity is the pressure or splash of water or release of velocity and energy and transfer and all that. That's your secondary cavity. As a bullet mushrooms out, you're creating a larger primary cavity, which is more blood loss, more tissue damage, more organ damage, more likely to stop the aggressor or the enemy from wanting to continue to try and hurt you or kill you. I have to get up and look at the time here because I don't know what and of course I got to spin this the other way because it won't show the time that way. Okay, I'm at 11 minutes, so I didn't start it too late. So what do you want to choose? Do you want to choose a hollow point or a solid round? It's your choice. I guess if I just had to say I didn't know anything about what you were doing, if I had to choose a round, I'd probably choose a hollow point for a handgun. I don't know if I covered it, but remember, a handgun is a defensive weapon and a rifle is considered an offensive weapon. And the difference between those two is a defensive weapon is for close in. You're not planning on attack. This is kind of your oh shit gun. It's a smaller round. It's a smaller bullet. It's not as fast. It's not as accurate. It doesn't have as much pressure because the longer the barrel, usually the more pressure the bullet will get. The longer the barrel, the more the explosion is pushing that bullet at greater energy and force. So the shorter the barrel, the less the velocity and the less. You know, you can change that with the paper. Again, there's no absolutes, but I'm just going in generalities here. A handgun is considered defensive. This is what you carry on your side. You have a rifle. A rifle, you're hunting, you're going out. It's an offensive weapon. It's got more power, more knockdown, more accuracy, more velocity. It's just a more powerful round. Rifles traditionally are always more powerful than pistols. Now, again, you can get a large pistol, handguns, all that, but this is just in general. A rifle's offensive. A pistol is defensive. If I'm going hunting, my weapon of choice is not going to be a pistol. However, as a cop, when we go hunting in homes or suspects in close-in areas, a rifle isn't always accurate because we have to get close in and you can't clear corners and I can't slice the pie and do the peek and do all that with a rifle, whereas I can with a pistol. I can make myself smaller and get around corners. I can keep the gun closer. I can defend my gun and still get rounds off and still keep a suspect at bay while I'm pumping rounds. Whereas with a rifle, it's a two-handed weapon. I've got both hands up. It takes away the ability. I think I'm close to 15 minutes, so I might have to get off here. But those are, if you're choosing, I guess I'll do a part 2 on ammo because I got a little long here on hollow point versus ball ammo. Now ball ammo can be round tip. Some people would just call anything with a dent a hollow point. Another reason that pistols tend to like round ammo is they tend to feed better in semi-automatics. So when you get into feeding a gun, whether you have a revolver or a automatic, that will dictate. Some guns say we recommend ball ammo. Most all automatics would probably rather ball, but with technology, and we've got nicer ramps now, nicer, finer machinery, we're able to load. They're making hollow points now that feed like balls, so it's not that critical to have ball ammo if you have a semi-automatic pistol. So we'll end this now on hollow point and ball ammo, and I'll make a part 2. All right, buddy, Mr. T, you're good, boys.